Nicole and Durin might be the next big shift in Genshin's meta, because we've just received some major early kit updates about Nicole, and the possible upcoming teams are looking insane. So let's break everything down. Starting with Nicole. She is no longer looking like a generic Pyro support. Instead, she seems to be a dedicated Hexerei support, who primarily works with Hexerei members. Her main buffs are expected to revolve around providing massive attack buffs to the team and sustain in the form of a shield. You can basically think of her as a 5-star version of Bennett, which is exactly how leakers are describing her. Earlier rumors about her giving universal damage bonus are now looking more likely to be locked behind constellations, and her base kit seems to be restricted specifically to Hexerei units. Now, in Genshin, the more restricted a character's kit is, the more broken they usually become within their limited team archetype. We've already seen this pattern with newer releases like Flynn's and Nefer. They're locked into very specific reactions, but within that niche, they are insanely strong compared to older universal units. So what does this mean? We already have a Pyro sub-DPS buffer in the form of Durin, specifically designed for Hexerei teams. And now, with Nicole, we would have 2 dedicated Pyro sub-DPS buffers. Durin provides resistance shred, Nicole provides attack buffs and shielding. When played together, they automatically fulfill the Hexerei team requirement, which means you can pair both of them with almost any DPS that benefits from Pyro synergy. For example, if leaks are correct and Nicole has a shield, a team like Arlecchino, Nicole, Durin, plus a generic buffer like Zilonin or Kazuha could work extremely well. Even overload teams like Varesa, Nicole, Durin, and Chevruz suddenly start looking insane. The same goes for Navia double Pyro teams. Navia would not only receive huge attack buffs from Nicole and resistance shred from Durin, but both of them would also provide massive off-field damage. You can think of them as similar to what Columbina and Inefa do, but even better for older units, because lunar reactions are completely different mechanics. They don't directly buff units like Arlecchino or Navia. You run Columbina and Inefa with Arlecchino because they themselves deal insane personal damage as sub-DPS units. But in the case of Nicole and Durin, Nicole's raw attack buffs plus Durin's resistance shred directly increase Arlecchino's personal damage. Instead of just adding sub-DPS damage, they actually amplify your main carry. So for players who love their older DPS characters and want them to scale higher again, this duo could be insanely valuable, possibly even more valuable than Columbina and Inefa for certain older units. And we all know how flexible Durin was at release. He worked with almost every DPS, and most of those teams used Bennett as sustain and buffer. Now, imagine simply replacing Bennett with Nicole. This also frees up your Hexerei team requirement. For example, in Varesa teams before, you were forced to run Fischl, Durin, and Eonsen just to activate all of Durin's buffs. Now, you could simply replace Fischl with Nicole, and that might instantly become Varesa's new best team. And this might go even further. This duo could potentially bring back a lot of older attack scaling units into the meta. Characters like Xiao, Wanderer, or even newer ones like Kinich, Mualani, and Chaska. This is actually why, in my previous video, I speculated that Nicole could be a main DPS, but now that we're seeing more details of her potential kit, Nicole plus Durin together might shake up the entire meta. Don't be surprised if you suddenly see teams like Varesa or Kinich hitting 140k to 150k DPS, even rivaling or outperforming some Nod-Krai units if you've heavily invested in them, and many of you have because those characters have been out longer. It is a bit sad though that similar to Durin, these older DPS units don't really synergize with newer Nod-Krai units, but that makes sense. If they did, Nod-Krai DPS would become even more broken. This might also explain why Varka's team damage currently looks lower than expected, despite his insane animations, lore importance, and the entire 6.4 patch being dedicated to him. Because imagine if they had released him at 140k DPS baseline. Now add Nicole. That could easily push him to 160k or even 170k, especially if Nicole buffs the entire team's attack instead of just the active character. That would buff Durin and Venti as well, not just Varka. And if she truly is a 5-star Bennett with kit restrictions, then yes, she is meant to be broken. Before talking further, we are currently hosting a 10x Welkin giveaway for the 12k subscriber special. More information is in the description. And don't forget to check out Loot Bar. They're running some insane offers right now. Just use my link below. Coming back to the topic, we didn't even talk about her synergy with Hexerei DPS units. Apart from obviously Varka, the first DPS that comes to my mind is Klee. A team like Klee, Venti, Durin, and Nicole could very easily reach current top DPS numbers, especially considering Klee's gameplay was designed for mono Pyro compositions with tons of Pyro hits, and every single one of those hits can be buffed by Nicole and Durin. Talking about other units, someone like Razor, who heavily depended on C6 Bennett for Pyro infusion, it will be very interesting to see how he performs with Nicole instead, or maybe Genshin is holding something completely different for him, especially with the upcoming release of Sandrone, but that's a topic for another video. Now, finally, coming to pull value. For those wondering whether to pull Varka or skip him after seeing Nicole's kit, here's the reality. Varka will still be an expensive unit overall. He needs Durin, Nicole, and Venti, 3 premium supports at once. At this point, if you ask me, even if you already have Venti, I would honestly say stick to Venti as your Anemo DPS. Run Venti with Nicole, Durin, and Farazan, or simply wait for Varka's rerun, because by then we will clearly know his actual value in the Nod-Krai meta. Or you can just run Durin and Nicole with your older teams, like Varesa or Arlecchino. I don't think this will impact Zibai at all. She is most likely going to become the best DPS in the game once Linnea releases. Her kit already looks like a Geo version of Anefa, and her weapon seems similar as well, providing 40% lunar crystallize bonus. Right now, Linnea looks like one of the most valuable characters overall. But for those who already own Durin, you'll have to make a big decision, because Nicole alongside Durin is going to be insanely strong for almost any attack scaling DPS. And, as I said before, none of the current DPS units are truly F2P friendly. Nefer needs Lauma, Columbina, plus someone like Nahida or Baiju. The same goes for Flynn's. And Varka will be no different. He might even feel more expensive because most of us already pulled Columbina, and she fits into almost any Luna team, compared to Venti and Durin, who currently don't have as many flexible team options. But overall, they are more or less at the similar value level. I hope this helped you understand Nicole's value better. Let me know if you have any questions. Till then.